Welcome to the Bible Adventures, where timeless stories come to life. Join us as we journey through the pages of the Bible, exploring the lives of extraordinary people and the incredible plans God had for them. Today, we begin the story of Abram, a man called by God to leave everything behind and step into a future filled with faith and promise. Let's dive into part 1 of this amazing adventure. In the ancient land of Ur, a man named Abram lived with his family. He was a man of deep faith, chosen by God for a purpose far greater than he could imagine. One day, Abram heard a divine call that would change his life forever. The Lord said to Abram, "Leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you." Without hesitation, Abram chose to obey. He shared God's call with his wife, Sarai, and prepared for a journey into the unknown. And so, Abram set out with Sarai, his nephew Lot, and all their possessions. They left behind the comfort of familiarity, guided only by their faith in God's promise. They traveled through rugged mountains, vast valleys, and across flowing rivers. Each step brought them closer to the land God had promised, though they knew not where it lay. The journey was not without its trials. The terrain was harsh, and the road was long. Yet, Abram pressed on, encouraged by Sarai's steadfast support and the hope of God's promise. Finally, after days of travel, they arrived in the land of Canaan. Abram stood in awe, gazing at the land God had promised to his descendants. This was the beginning of something extraordinary. In gratitude and faith, Abram built an altar to the Lord. He knelt and prayed, dedicating himself and this new land to God's purpose. And God spoke to Abram once more, "Look around you. To your offspring, I will give this land." As Abram looked up at the night sky, filled with countless stars, he felt the weight of God's promise, a legacy as vast as the heavens. With renewed determination, Abram set up camp in the land of Canaan. Sarai, his partner in faith, stood beside him, offering her unwavering encouragement for the journey ahead. As the sun rose over the hills of Canaan, its golden light illuminated a new beginning. Abram's heart swelled with hope, but he knew this was only the start of a greater journey. What challenges would arise? What trials would test his faith? The answers lay ahead, in a path yet to be revealed. Abram and his family have finally settled in the land of Canaan, just as God promised. His tents are pitched, the livestock roam freely, and the land stretches endlessly under the golden sky. Peace surrounds their new home, but not for long. That evening, under a blanket of stars, Abram stands deep in thought. God's promise echoes in his heart, but doubts creep in. When would these promises come true? The stars above seem to whisper hope to Abram's weary heart. As their herds grow larger, arguments erupt between Abram's and Lot's herdsmen over grazing land. The peaceful atmosphere is shattered by bickering voices. Abram said, "Lot, let's not have conflict between us or our herdsmen. We are family." Abram, with a generous heart, allows Lot to choose the land first. Lot's eyes gleam as he picks the fertile plains near Sodom, a land lush but full of hidden dangers. Lot and his family set off towards Sodom, waving a bittersweet farewell. Abram watches them fade into the horizon, trusting that God's promise remains. That night, as silence falls over the land, God's voice breaks through the stillness. God said to Abram, "Look around, Abram. All this land will belong to your descendants. As countless as the stars in the sky will be your children." Abram's heart swells with renewed faith. Filled with gratitude, Abram builds an altar and bows in prayer. Smoke rises into the sky, a symbol of his trust in the Lord. But peace does not last. a fierce war breaks out among neighboring kings, and Lot is taken captive along with his family. Abram hears the devastating news. With determination, Abram gathers 318 trained men from his household. They prepare their weapons and set out into the night, guided by Abram's unwavering courage. Through rugged terrains and under the pale moonlight, Abram and his men march forward, every step fueled by the mission to save Lot. Under the cover of darkness, Abram leads a surprise attack. Swords clash, enemies fall, and victory is claimed. Abram's courage and strategy prevail. Abram frees Lot and his family, who weep with gratitude. Abram reassures them with a firm voice. Abram said, "We are safe now. God has delivered us." Triumphant, Abram returns to Canaan with Lot and the rescued captives. Cheers and relief fill the air. Abram meets Melchizedek, the priest of God Most High. They share bread and wine in gratitude, and Abram offers a tenth of everything he has. Melchizedek said, "Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth." As the sun sets over Canaan, Abram reflects on the journey, his faith tested, his courage proven, and God's promises reaffirmed. But challenges still loom on the horizon. What awaits Abram next? Abraham was 99 years old, and his wife Sarah was 90. God had promised Abraham, "You will be the father of many nations." But there was one problem. Abraham and Sarah had no children. For years they prayed for a child, but nothing happened. As time passed, it seemed impossible. One night, Abraham spoke to God, saying, "Lord, how can this be? We are too old to have children." God reassured him, "Don't be afraid. You will have a son, and your descendants will be as numerous as the stars in the sky." One day, as Abraham sat near his tent, he saw 3 visitors approaching. He welcomed them warmly, offering them food and rest. Then one of them said, "I will return next year, and Sarah will have a son." Sarah overheard this from the tent and laughed to herself. "How can I have a child at my age?" she thought. But God heard her and said, "Why did you laugh, Sarah? Is anything too hard for the Lord?" Sure enough, just as God promised, Sarah became pregnant. At 90 years old, she gave birth to a son. Abraham, now 100, named him Isaac, which means laughter. Sarah held Isaac in her arms, saying, "God has brought me laughter. Who would have thought I'd have a child at this age?" They threw a great feast, celebrating God's faithfulness. Isaac was their joy, the child of promise. But little did they know, their faith was about to be tested in a way they never imagined. One day God spoke again. "Abraham, take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and offer him as a sacrifice." Abraham's heart dropped. The son he had waited for, God was asking him to give him up. But Abraham trusted God no matter how painful it seemed. He and Isaac journeyed to the mountain. Isaac, still young, asked, "Father, we have the wood and fire, but where is the lamb for the offering?" Abraham's heart was heavy. He built the altar, placed the wood, and prepared to do as God commanded. As he raised his knife, something miraculous happened. What happened next? Did Abraham really have to sacrifice Isaac? Or did God have another plan? The morning sun cast golden hues over the desert as Abraham and Isaac journeyed toward Mount Moriah. For 3 days they traveled in silence, their footsteps blending with the whispers of the wind. Abraham's heart was burdened, yet his faith remained steadfast. Each step brought him closer to the place God had chosen, a place of testing, a place of surrender. At the mountain, Abraham gathered stones, building an altar with care. Isaac watched in quiet curiosity as his father prepared the sacrifice. The wood was placed, the fire was ready, but something was missing. "Father," Isaac asked. "Where is the lamb?" Abraham turned to his son, his eyes filled with love and sorrow. "God will provide," he answered. Though Isaac did not fully understand, he trusted his father, just as his father trusted God. With quiet obedience, Isaac lay upon the altar. Abraham's hands trembled as he reached for the knife. His heart ached, yet his resolve did not waver. Just as he was about to bring down the blade, a voice from heaven called out, "Abraham, do not lay a hand on the boy." Time seemed to stand still. Abraham lifted his eyes and saw a ram caught in the thicket. Relief flooded his soul. God had provided. Untying Isaac, he offered the ram in worship, the flames rising toward the heavens as a symbol of obedience and divine provision. Then the Lord declared, "Because you have obeyed me, your descendants will be as numerous as the stars. Through your family, all nations will be blessed." Descending the mountain, Isaac walked beside his father, his mind filled with wonder. He had witnessed the power of God, felt the weight of faith, and carried within him a lesson he would never forget. As they returned home, Sarah wept with joy at the sight of her son, embracing him tightly. That night, under a sky filled with stars, Abraham stepped outside, his heart overflowing with gratitude. Each shimmering light above was a reminder of God's promises, of his faithfulness through every test. His greatest trial had become his greatest testimony. When we trust him completely, God's provision is always near. Abraham's test was not about losing his son. It was about proving his faith. And in the end, God provided, just as he always does. The story of Mount Moriah became a lasting symbol of trust, obedience, and the certainty that God's promises never fail. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Kingdom Quest Stories for more incredible Bible adventures. What lessons did you learn from Abraham's test? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and remember, when we trust him completely, God will always provide. See you in the next story.